like, I mean, I'm just going by what you're saying here, but I also know I know how the healing thing goes when you're a healer like that, and you know, you can spend all your time trying to take care of everybody else, but if you don't take the time to take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody. And I've seen that firsthand. I've been that firsthand. I've done it myself, so I'm really just kind of yelling at myself too. Backhandedly, I'm just kind of bringing this up for myself because I'm kind of realizing things in my
Yeah, and we
own
do
life.
get focused. We do get very focused. And, kind of tripping back a little bit to what you mentioned a little bit earlier about if people would realize what is around them, that it would change their lives. And I wanna know what it is that woke you up or brought your awareness to what there is that you're talking about. Do you know what I
I
mean?
never, I've never had a point in my life where I wasn't aware of it. I mean, I can get deep
Aware
real
of
quick.
what? Aware of
No,
what?
I can get deep real quick,
Oh.
but I'll try not to go too far into the non-PC realm of what people would say reality is the way I'll put it. Not, and I say PC in the realm of like what just how people assume reality to be. Not like we can get really deep in the esoteric stuff, and not everybody's gonna. You know, I don't like to get too far into it because it's just hard to unless you understand it and have experienced it. It's hard to say, but like I mean, when I was a kid, I could see orbs in my doorway from like my bedroom and my sister's bedroom. I had a blue one, she had a pink one, and we could see them. They were there. They're always there. I'd try and point them out to my parents, but they couldn't see them, and they stayed there till we were very, very like into our teens. Um, you know, I've experienced many random things out in nature. In fact, the only like the main reason I'm probably talking about this stuff right now is because I was telling Mark about some of this stuff from Mystic Michigan Television, um, the Starboard Quest and all that. And I had this one experience where I was behind that house playing music in the dark with my friend, and we were in our teens at this point, and we were playing. And this kid was like, I don't know how to explain him, but he was like one of my gurus. This kid was younger than me, but he knew more about physics and like he came up with things about space and stuff they're still figuring out. Like it just he was burning way bright for being in his teens like he was. So he really took me under his wing and taught me a lot about music beyond what my dad had taught me. And we're out there jamming, and we would just come up with these jams and play this improv music off the top of our heads, and it's just what we did all the time. And like the improv was always our big thing. It's like we'd get bored, right? You understand.
Yeah.
So we're just jamming on this. It's pretty much an A major thing, if I can remember, and just it's almost like folk bluegrass, but it's like that kind of rate of notes, like where you're playing a lot and just jamming, but like it's upbeat and it's happy. The majors are happy. And as we're playing, there's this big valley behind us with this creek going through there. And I say creek, but like it's like basically a river. I mean, it's big. It's bigger than what some people would call rivers. Like I've seen rivers that weren't that big. So it will say it's a river. And we're playing over this valley. And as we're playing, the whole wood starts to glow pink. This is the middle of the night, right? And it starts glowing brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter until it got so bright that we could see the whole valley illuminated. Trees all the way up the hills. Like it was intense. And it was like it seemed like the more we played and the better the jam got, the brighter it became. And then finally we went and got, we had my sister and her boyfriend, who was later on her husband, come out and check it out. And they saw it too, and they're like, "Yeah, that's really weird." But I mean, I mean, my God, I my life has been weird from the start. Like I've seen things like that I could never explain to people. I've had so many astral experiences, and I've been attacked so much in my sleep, and I mean, I've been in my bedroom sitting there with my girlfriends different. I've had this happen multiple times now, and have something walk right in the room that I couldn't, you can't see it, steps on the bag next to me, shoves it down on the ground, and walks in and starts attacking them in their dreams, but it's also in reality too. So a lot of these times these people are getting attacked subconsciously and in their dreams and stuff, and they don't even know it. They have no idea that's even a possibility or an existence, but trust me, it is. It's very
Yep.
real. It's extremely real, and I know a lot of people that have dealt with it, and I've dealt with it wide awake firsthand. I didn't. This is not something I wanted to get into, like personally, like looking in life, like people want to get into the deep side, and that they. No, I assure you, it's not what you're trying to do. But
But
since
you
you
didn't
get
have,
there,
and see, I think what your story is unique to anybody's that I've ever heard, because most of the people that describe the things that you're talking about have had some pretty traumatic things, and we're talking about very deep trauma, physical abuse, sexual abuse. You know, these are a lot of the people that end up in the mental health system and on medications. They're the ones that end up with, you know, long-term abusive relationships that repeat with different people. I mean, and that's very, very common. But a lot of times, you know, people have the experiences that you're describing too, when they have an NDE, when they have a near-death experience. So that doesn't sound like you though.
No, I can't say it. I've had times, I mean, I don't know how many times I've came close to death, but it was never like not like, for example, the guy from the Archangel Ancient Tree Archive, he went to the other side and was told, no, it's not your time. You got to come back and pull these big trees. And they came back 2 weeks later and he wrote down what they told him. That's how he started his business. And that's what they're running under today. That's 25 years ago. Science laughed at him in the beginning. Now he's doing what he was told to do, and it's working. But like for me, no, I mean, my dad went through a lot and he always kept me pretty wide open. My mom went through a lot. She kept me pretty wide open. I mean, like my parents dealt with a lot of UFO experiences when they were younger. My grandparents dealt with a lot of UFO experiences when they were younger. And I mean, my grandparents, like my grandma was 97 years old, man. You know what I mean? Like this was before this stuff was even a thought. Like they're out watching movies and stuff like that and having or not, they weren't saucers then. They were like, I think it was a cigar shape or something like that. But like, you know, the thing is though, I didn't get, I had experiences with this stuff as far as the dream stuff and have like go a little bit in the beginning. But like, then I dated this girl, Sarah Dragone, that she was way deep. And she said she is way deep. And she's been attacked by things since she was a little girl, and she thought it was an attack, but then she just recently did a regression and found out that it wasn't an attack, and it was actually trying to help her. And like, and I had the suspicion that there was potential that these things aren't there to hurt you; they're trying to help you because they seem to come in these traumatic times.
Mhm.
And from what I've ever experienced, there's never been any malicious behavior. Technically, there's never been any ill intent, but they're just there and present, and they make you really hyper scared, but they're trying to straighten something out. It seems like, or make you aware of something's going on you got to be aware of, and you got to straighten that out. And it took me a long time to get past the fear of it. I had to get attacked so much that I started laughing about it at night. Like I mean, I for so long I kept getting attacked and just like held down and pinned down. I knew, I could tell by what direction they were coming what type they would be. I mean, it got to that point. They didn't come from the east, they never came from the north, they always came from the south or the west. The ones from the south are always shadow figures. The ones from the west are always reptilian in design. Why? I don't know. I can't figure all this
Wow.
out, but this is what happened. But they'd hold you down, they just pin you. And it was always right when I was aware that they were there, because I'd always wake up right when I knew they were coming in, and wham, they'd hold you down. And I've had it other times where I was astral, like not astral, but like what would you call it? Lucid dreaming, and I've had some really intense stuff like that. So when you said quantum energy, I really kind of got into that because I've had to use that before in different ways just to even get myself straightened out because of what I was going through. But that girl was, I mean, she had been going through it, going through it, going through it. She was the one that I first had walk in, and it was just like, I mean, it pushed a bag down next to me when I was sitting there. She was sleeping, I was awake. Got the dog first, went, and the dog started like shaking and whimpering, and I jumped into her, and she started shaking. And I woke her up, and she first was in a trance, and she was like, "I'm fine." Her eyes were like huge, and she was like in this
Wow.
weird state. It was so creepy. And then finally, I shook her again, and all of a sudden she came out of it. And she's like, "What just happened?" And I told her, and she's like, "Yeah, in my dream this happened, and this thing came in. And it's been doing this. It's been attacking me since I was a kid." And oh my gosh, it was just wild. But I mean, again, that's just a small part of it. Like I've also been driving down the road when I'm like riding down the road when my sister was driving, had something run up to the side of the road, stood up. I don't know what it was. It wasn't nothing like a Sasquatch. It was running on all fours, but its eyes were like super red glowing. Runs up, gets to this fence that was next to the road, stood up and was going to jump over the fence on its leg. Like it was like stand. It was walking fine, and it stopped. And once it realized it couldn't make it across the road before we got there, it just stopped, watched us go by. It was about 7 foot tall, had ears like almost like a deer, but like it gave me the impression of Anubis, like, but it was like one of the most ancient things you could ever see in your entire life. But at the same
Okay,
time, I
yeah.
don't feel good. I don't feel like there's anything dog about it though. So I
Yep.
don't know how to explain that better than that. But like, I would say in native terms was probably a skinwalker if there was. But again, do I
Okay.
like? I don't expect people to believe this stuff because like I know that if I wouldn't have gone through it, I'd be like, sure you did. But like, this is just stuff that's happened to me my whole life so much, so
Well,
much. I mean,
you know
we're not
what
even getting.
though? There are more and more people that are going to be coming out about these kinds of stories
Yep,
because
yep.
I'm hearing more and more people talk about them a little more open, and they're getting the one guy, he actually has a film of it. He has a camera, outside, night vision camera that's just pointing out to where his vehicle is, and it tracked this thing that it was it shape shifted, and it looked at like different animals and combinations of creatures, and yeah, they just kind of figured that it was probably a skinwalker.
Yeah, and the unfortunate side of this information coming out now is the fact that they rushed as hard as they could to get AI to catch up to the point where that's way you still can say now, I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for people who haven't experienced, like, oh, I'm sure it was just AI or whatever. It's like until that, unfortunately, we finally have the times, the credibility, and the cameras and stuff to have this caught, right? And now we can't say for sure. It's like almost like it was like perfectly timed out to like, so it still leaves a bit of credibility away from any of this. So if we had only the cameras and no way to edit the footage, you'd see that and go, oh, absolutely, that must be that. But now, because of AI, people are still going to doubt, even though we're going to find stuff coming out, like you're saying. But what I'm finding is that more often than not, almost always, the people I run into, and time and time again, they've been through something that's similar of somewhere in there, especially with the dreaming thing and getting held down and paralysis and all that. And it's just like, what happens is they're afraid to talk about it until somebody can talk about it in an intelligent way.
Right.
And once that happens, and then it's like, wow, maybe there is something to this. And it's like, I had doctors that helped talk to me about this. I had people who were, lawyers, and I've talked to multiple different people from universities. I mean, counselors and everything like that. That weren't even like counseling me necessarily, just talking to people and stuff. You know what I mean? And like people who are actually doing things in life that people look up to and are like would consider a high end thing or whatever, right? And they're all in on it too, and they understand, but they just don't talk about it much because they can't, because you're deemed, silly or crazy or whatever. But like, I think for one, I had a grow store and people kept coming into me, and I was selling sage and sweetgrass and all this, and essential oils and all that. And it was amazing the stories you get out of people with the smudging, and you tell people how to go home and smudge and like what would happen with their lives and stuff. It was just unbelievable. And then and so like that gave me understanding that it was there. But then to go into this music thing, this plant music thing, like you're going so far, so deep, so fast. You're just diving in head first and saying, "Well, here we go." It's like you're gonna either think I'm crazy, or you're gonna hate me, or you're gonna love me. And it's like there's no real. And I haven't found anybody that really. I haven't had any hate yet. I've had people that be like, "That's pretty weird," but for the most part, everybody's been really on board with it, and they're like, "This is pretty wild," because I have science that can at least look into some of this and then correlate with what I'm saying. Because as fast as I'm coming up and saying, no, I know for a fact that plants can think, and trees can think because they respond to what I'm doing. And not only they respond to my thoughts. They know what
Mhm.
I'm thinking. I'm not joking. I
Mhm.
know, I know that I've done too many well over 100 experiments, and they know what you're thinking before you react to it. So you're putting out an impulse somehow in some ether out here, and you don't even know it, and it's just broadcasting like it's an antenna, like you're a radio station. And there are a multitude of beings around you that are picking that up at all times, and you don't even know they're beings. And that goes back into that realm what I was saying, because I mean we've gotten into some pretty weird stuff, and I'm not even getting into the elemental realm. You know what I mean? I'm not getting into
Yep.
Pan and
Yep.
all that, because like we can get way deeper into that, and I'm not even going to, because that's a whole other side of thing that people just don't even understand. They don't even know it exists. And it's just like, man, I didn't go looking for any of this. I didn't go wanting to go into this. I wasn't trying to like dive headfirst into this. I was actually quite terrified of all of it. So my
Yeah.
dad was so into the UFOs and stuff from what he had experienced when he was younger. And I mean, when he was younger, they used to his family would actually go to the end of his road and just watch the UFOs at night because there was so many of them.
Wow.
He said your hair would stand right up on end and they'd be hovering over you and stuff. And he's like,
Mhm.
they just keep on going. They just fly over.
Mhm.
He said, but the whole family would go down there.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so it's like, and that wasn't, I'm actually one that my buddy I mentioned that unfortunately has cancer, Damon Heath, he's making a song, and at the end of it, he makes a joke about that. I saw a UFO because at the end of the song's called "At the End of the Road" because it was like that normal that they would see
Yeah.
him. You know, they'd always come from the same place, and eventually it became a chemical plant over there, which is even more strange. So who knows what really
Wow.
went on there? You know, but it's hard to say. But I know that there's so much out there, so outrageously much out there that goes so far deeper than most even want to go. That, to be honest with you, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to not want to go that deep. It's okay to live your life and just be happy, not happy. You know, like it's like for the people who are like keep wanting to know deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like I can assure you, you can keep going deeper, but you you're gonna be a lot happier if you just be happy. You can spend
Yeah.
your whole life looking, but you're just gonna keep finding. You're just gonna get deeper and deeper and deeper, and all you're gonna have is more to think about, and that's cool. But you gotta just know enough to know that you're never gonna know because you only learn that there's more. You never learn that there's less. So
Right.
just settle down and just appreciate what's good around you and actually work towards that, and honor that, and your family and your friends and your loved ones, whatever's good to you in life. That's the most important thing you got because we could talk about this all day and we could dive into it for the rest of our lives. But not only will we not get anywhere with it, but we're going to be broke and miserable and probably lose everything we have because we never took the time to just put in some work and have good things in our life, you know?
Nah, they won't be broken miserable. They'll be horrifically in debt and miserable.
You know what I'm saying, though. I just
Yeah,
see
yeah,
myself do that. Like you get so far down the rabbit hole that
yeah.
you can spend literally all day and
Yep.
all night and just can't wake
Yep.
up and keep doing it. And eventually, I mean, like it's like the government. Like, I went down one rabbit hole back a long time ago, and it's like you get to a certain point, and you're like, okay, now it comes out they're all ran by. It's like, well, there's a whole bunch of pedophiles out there. It's if you could have done the research back before this all came out, I mean, it's obvious because like human trafficking is one of the highest commodities of money that you can make, and after once you make so much money, what's the most taboo thing, and what's the thing you can make the most money off of, and like what do you like? It's just
Oh, you know
it's
what?
gonna
I
follow.
think I think that the traffic is part of it. The other part of it is, I'll just say, the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier for them to manage the bits and pieces rather than the whole piece when it's still kicking. So there's
Right.
a huge market for the bits and pieces, and I'm sorry if that's graphic for people, but this is the world we're living in right now. There is
Yep.
there is a dark side,
Yep.
and if you're aware of that, that's it's not good, it's not bad. That to me is kind of a moral judgment. Good and bad is a moral judgment. It just is, and you're gonna know what is gonna be your path. And I say feed your passion. Because I mean, I homeschooled my boys for their whole school life, to graduation, from littles to bigs. And I fed their passion. My one son, as soon as he could pick up a crayon, he was into it. He was 2 years old, kneeling on a chair up at the dining table, and he'd be there for an hour or two. Now, how many 2-year-old kids are going to do that? Totally engrossed with the crayons. The other one, he ended up gravitating towards music. I said, okay, well, let's get you a guitar. Are you interested in theory? He was really interested in all of that stuff. So he was writing music, he was playing, but you have to follow that path that you're interested in. And sometimes you get dragged down that path, and sometimes you get pushed, and sometimes you fight it and you're not really necessarily ready for it. Does that make sense? So, I mean, you may have been playing when you were a kid or when you were in your late teens,
Oh, I
but this
wanted nothing to
level
do
where
with it.
you're
I
at
know.
right now is completely different.
Oh yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying because like when I was younger, my dad tried to teach me guitar. I was like, no, I just didn't. I thought I was going to be a drummer, and I didn't have a drum set, and so I wasn't clearly being a drummer. But I was just like, no, I'm not going to play guitar. I'm not a guitar player. And then if nobody was around, I might pick up the guitar for a second, and like plink on it a little bit, right? And then one day, my neighbor came over, and he wanted to learn. And then I saw my dad try and teach him a song. And when I realized how easy it was for him to learn that, just to show him, like, here's an A minor chord, I'm like, that's it. And he goes, yeah, I've been trying to teach you. So it wasn't until somebody else was going to learn Then I was like, oh, now I want to learn. But it's like, yeah, it's like you can't force it. My dad knew that too. And I'm so grateful that he understood that. You can't force it. You just gotta
No,
let it
feed the
be.
passion. You got to feed the passion,
Mhm.
right?
Yep. That A minor, if my friend would have never came over and wanted to learn that song for his dad, I would have never ever. And ironically, it was Fred Bear, which is all about the guy who was all about nature. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I
Yep.
know Ted Nugent has his bad connotations or whatever with his whatever, but like, take him out of that, and just the song itself is about the guy who was like the epitome of the naturist guy, or not maybe not naturist, but like whatever. It's like I just like he embodied that to the
Yeah.
point where he could like flick a dime in the air or whatever, shoot it out of the air with his bow and arrow. I mean, like
Yep.
he was
It was
that guy, but he learned
amazing.
from native. Yeah. So it's just like it's ironic now to go into this and be the guy who plays musical plants and trees. And it all started with, a song about the spirit of the woods.
Yep.
It's you know,
Who would have thunk it, right? You would not have
yeah,
envisioned yourself, you know, I don't know how old you are, but 20 years ago, if you had envisioned yourself and you're going to be doing this, it's like, yeah, come
nope,
on.
nope, no, I would have, music, sure, but I would have assumed it would have been the normal, and forgive my language on this one, but the normal dick show. Where it's just like, man, look at us, we're rock stars. We go around and just rock out, and everybody get fucked up and woo. And it's like that just sounds so fleeting. And even though I know I could have done that, like I just chose not to.
Mhm.
When I see everybody around me trying to do those things in bands and stuff like that, and I'm just like, they don't get it. And most of them become incredibly miserable, and they don't understand the actual essence of life, the quality of life, the good
Right,
things in life.
right.
You know what I mean? Like I tried to go and understand that there's like that you can have these fleeting moments and you can go experience these fleeting things, but the truth is it doesn't fill the hole that you'll dig in your soul if you don't feed the soul and take care of that nourishment, and so I really like to remind people how important it is, like just to be happy and have a good thing and take care of your family and your friends and like
Yep.
pets and whatever your loved ones are. You know what I mean? Some people have a hard time with family, and like so whatever that means to you. You know, no, I mean, it's true. Some people don't.
Family is not defined the same way today as what it has been in the past. I think that it's
No,
very, very, very different. So yeah, crazy stuff. But yeah, fun.
yeah,
So I really like your website. I will probably put the link tree thingy because that's got everything out there,
oh
right?
yeah,
So
yep.
I'll just do the
Most of it. I
link
don't have a lot of
tree.
my interviews on there, but I need to get them. I'll have to get yours on there too. So I always get you into that. I got a few of them. There's a Plants Grow Here podcast we did that was really great too, and yeah, there's been some good ones I got to still add on there. But that's got so much. It's got like the website, all the social media, links to the music, links to a lot of my articles, which is in Garden Culture magazine, which I really got to give those guys more credit because they've been so unbelievably amazing throughout my career. I don't think I don't think I could have found a better place to team up with to get some of this information out there because it's like they publish it worldwide, but they're so supportive and
Yeah.
understanding of my weirdness. And they're just like, yeah, man, sounds great.
Embrace the
Let's do it.
weirdness. Embrace the weirdness. That's what I
Oh,
tell them.
hey, you wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, you wouldn't be sitting here talking to me about playing music with plants and trees and all this weird esoteric stuff if I wasn't embracing my weirdness. I don't think. I don't. If I wasn't
Absolutely.
fully embrace my weirdness, I don't know if I could hang out in public with everybody. But experiences.
Absolutely. That's like the best ever. So yeah, I'll go ahead and do that and connect as much as you can with Tom. And
CosmicMapMusic.com.
I would like to be able to do you have any kind of future events coming up or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as like we do our own festival every year, and that's called Festival, and that's going to be going on this summer. So you'll have to check on the website for the dates because I was going to do it in early June, but I got this wedding from a very dear friend, and I don't want to ruin her time either. I'm trying to balance out when we're going to do it, but at some point this summer we're going to be having that. There's we do lots of different festivals throughout the summer. I know Tamarack Fest is a good one. We're playing at the Library in Benton Harbor. I don't know how much your fans are from Michigan or whatever, but we're going to be playing there February 24th. Um, there's a bunch of stuff coming up, but it's hard to get the dots connected in January for most of this because summers are always.
Yeah, we're kind of hunkered. Well, most people are hunkered down in this part of the country for the snow and all. But I know I'm still traveling. I get to go to Battle Creek on Monday, and March I'll be going, south close. I stayed in South Haven. That was pretty nice. That's a
Yeah,
nice
South Haven.
town.
Yeah, yeah, South Haven isn't bad at all. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The along the lake on the west side, it's actually pretty nice. Muskegon's has its rough parts, but along the lake, it's great. And all the way down, Benton Harbor's a little rough, but like West Michigan's such a beautiful place, and East Michigan it's got its thing, but it's definitely more city vibe. And it's much more fast paced over there. And I'm very grateful to live where I live because I live right in this little horseshoe area that's like normal land and like a lot of farmland right here by the river where I'm at. But like all the way around me, there's just a giant horseshoe of public land, and it just continues up and goes all the way up pretty much to the bridge in different little patches. And so I'm like right on the verge of all the public land in Michigan. So I've just kind of grew up with that as my alternative solution to doing anything in the day. Every time I'm like, what should I do today? It's like, well, if I get this done, maybe I can go out in the woods and like, forage or hunt or fish or whatever. And it's like, I don't even really hunt that much, but it's just like just be out in the woods and do something. I think fishing is what really got me into it from the get go. And that's a whole other thing that there's, with water and all that. And we talked a little bit about it, but fish really made me understand the qualities of energy and water. And if you get by Victor Schauberger side of things and the Dr. Emoto with the hidden messages in water and how every thought you're thinking prints the water every second.
Structured water, baby. Structured water. Just yep, light and sound and all that kind of good stuff.
I was building. I had a grow store for a while, and I actually I built a vortex compost tea brewer. So the water was constantly vortexing down a drain and back into itself to keep the fecundity of the compost at the all-time highest, because you're oxygenating it and creating an aerobic environment instead of anaerobic environment. So not only are we putting in biodynamic ingredients, which are the best ingredients you can pretty much source from Mother Nature in the most kind, gentle way. I guess it's really done. It's pretty awesome ingredients that they were using. And then you put it in, you mix it in, and you have it constantly vortexing like that. You can give it to plants, and the plants will come back the next day, and their leaves are just like sticking straight up in the air. And they're like, before I ever got into plants playing music, I was like, man, they look like they're singing right now. Little did I know, it's some of that statement. But yeah, there's something about it when it's like that, just that whole all that and that I can't call it. I guess esoteric means hidden in its own way, but like I guess like not hidden, but just like not in the normal light of day. It's not the things that most people are talking about. But there's so much to that there's a lot of good you can learn out of that if you look and own the good sides of that and not get too caught up in the semantics and the world's gonna end sort of it. You know what I mean? Like
right. And I think the terminology is shifting a little bit. I think more and more people are realizing that the word occult just means hidden. It doesn't mean that it's negative or positive, and it's got to do with the vessel that's using that knowledge or that information.
Right. It was hidden. It certainly was hidden from us. I mean, most of the things that we're talking about are extremely pagan oriented in its own weird way.
Christmas, Easter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the fact that Christmas actually coincides the fact that the sun sits still in the sky for 3 days and then comes back on the 25th is the first day we can actually see it move again. If you're going, we can get into that all day. Yeah. But the pagan thing is just like we used to be nature based. In our original origins, we were all nature based. We knew what the stars were for. We knew what the plants were. We knew how it all worked out, and we knew what it did for us. And then somehow the church came in, and I'm not against that at all. But like, this is just what happened. The church came in, took the idea of Pan, made that into the devil, and then used it against the people who were into nature to scare them away from it and go to the church. And then everybody got into the church and stopped living up with nature and then living with nature like they were supposed to. And we can see how this has been going. It's not so much that's I'm not blaming that on the church, that the people just went with it and then just took it they just went too far in the wrong direction with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can have religion, you can worship God however you want to, but like understand that God is everything if you're going to believe in God, and that everything out there, your plants, everything is part of it. So take care of it instead of destroy it, right? I mean, it seems
Right.
common sense, but
Right. And it really is everything that has that awareness, that consciousness that is part of all of us. Here I'm sitting here rubbing my little stone here, and I got my Vogel crystal, and I have my other, I'm like surrounded. So yeah, so that the whole idea is being able to tap into the energy and tapping into what is it's I think what you were pointing out too, though, is that, putting a moral judgment on it of good or bad, it's kind of like, well, the pen, I can write words of love and affirmation, or I can write all kinds of icky hate stuff. Um, I can also use it to really hurt somebody physically.
right,
So it's
right.
really on how you use that particular tool. And I think
Choice.
that when people use a more accepted, and in our culture, it would be the biggest one would be Christianity, on how we can, I went to a Pentecostal church, and the big thing there was people speaking in tongues, and then someone doing an interpretation. And I think I have a problem with people saying, well, you're using divination. And it's like, well, isn't that what that was? Wasn't that divination if somebody truly got a message from the divine and got a message and laid that out for other people? Isn't that a form of divination when someone gets a download? To me, that's just getting a message, and it might even be from your higher self. It could be from whatever it is. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Take the dog. You got to take the dogmas out of it again. Like, who? If it's truth and it makes sense and it's a good idea, or if it's a new dream of something that's coming into reality, like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Like, there should be, just because it was like, I mean, the church for so long, I feel like had that problem where it was just like, if it didn't come through them, then it wasn't anything. But the truth is that like that church is not the church. The church is you. The church is nature. The church is you. Nothing can be experienced outside of yourself. Every single one of us.
Right.
There's nothing can be
And even
experienced.
Christ said that.
You
The
can't.
Yeshua ben Yosef said that.
Yep, you can't see anything outside of yourself. You can't hear anything outside of yourself. You can't touch anything outside of yourself. You can't taste anything, and you can't smell anything outside of yourself. I'm sorry, you cannot. The only way you can experience these things is by your internal perception. No matter what. No matter what. If you get into quantum physics and all that, you can't touch anybody because of the magnetic barrier and all that, and all your feeling. We can get into
It's
this for days.
illusory, right? Right.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
very
all
illusory.
it's just what you are coming up with, and you can have a room full of 1,000 objects, right? And if you walk somebody into that room and only 25 of those objects are relevant to them, what do you think if you can't took them out of that room after 20 minutes and asked them what they saw in that room? What do you think they would tell you about?
Oh, they're not going to
They
tell you
tell,
about the ones that weren't relevant. That's for sure.
absolutely. So, okay, so if and the way we look at reality and the way human minds work, it's like, well, if things aren't relevant to us, it doesn't matter if there's 100 million things that we need to know out there. If we're only focused on 25 of them, that's all we're going to notice. And that's how we've been living our lives. But that's also how we've been conditioned to live our lives. It keeps us in a certain place like that. Back when it was like, hey, you need to know this about nature, because if you do, you can grow these crops and take care of yourself. And then somebody comes in and says, hey, you need to only worship this because we're going to give you everything, because that's what's been told, that's what we're supposed to do. It's
Right.
just like, well, yeah, that's great, and that works until the system fails. And that's like
Right.
capitalism. It's like what you were kind of talking about a little bit before. Like, it's like capitalism is great until it literally capitalizes on itself,
Yep.
and then it literally starts to devour its own self. And I'm not
Yep.
saying that you shouldn't have fascism, you shouldn't have any of these other things either. But we got to figure out a different system or something, because it's starting to devour itself. And the reason being is because these billionaires are watching take over, and they're taking over. They're beyond the grasp of the of our government anymore. You know what I mean? They're starting to make major plays in the entire world, and they're just billionaires. They could be sociopaths. They could be just some dude who did. I mean, you have to be maniacal to be a billionaire in the first place. You know how much of your family life and how much of good in your life you have to give up to try and just only focus on that much money. I mean,
Yeah.
Steve Jobs is the one that said it best right before he died. You know, when he had pancreatic cancer or whatever it was, and he said that he missed the whole point.
Yep.
You know, he was 56 years old or whatever, and all the money in the world couldn't save him. All he had to do was just be happy and spend time with his family and stuff. But he
I think
didn't.
one of the best stories I heard was Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, talking about how when his, I think it was his father-in-law, um, said, I think he was in a coma, literally very, very close to the end of his life. And he said he all of a sudden, eyes popped open. I don't know if he sat up or he just looked at Bruce and says, "I didn't have any fun." So he thought that was just horrible. You spend your whole life and you didn't have any fun. What was the point of being here? You're
Gotta
here to
enjoy yourself.
experience, and the way people describe it is that outside of this reality, we just have the memory. That's what we're going to carry with us, is that memory, that resonance, that frequency, or that compilation of these lives of frequency. That's what we're going to take with us. We're not going to take the taste, the smell, the touch. We're not going to take those sensory abilities that we get with this biological holographic precipitation that we have. We're going to exit this and we're going to go, woohoo, that was a blast. Where's the line? It's like the getting in line for the roller coaster, but or you're going to be that guy who just went the fright show, the horror show, and said, "Get me out of here. I don't want to do that. I didn't have any fun." Who do you want to be?
Well, it's something I've ran into with some of my friends that lived out in Hawaii for a while. They said they run into a lot of folks that are in their 70s and they get out there. And the first thing they all do is go, "All right, I've been waiting my whole life to retire so I can come out here
You
and
go,
and experience paradise. What should we do?" And he looks at him and goes, go sit down and relax. He's like, you can't do any of the things that you wanted to do because you're gonna hurt yourself. He's like,
yep,
you can't go cliff diving, you can't go mountain hiking, you can't.
yep,
Some people can, but most people by the time they get there, he says, you can look at them and tell like they can't do all the things that they were waiting their whole life to do. They just didn't go do those things.
yep,
And again, it's a choice. You know what I mean? Like, what's stopping you from doing the things you want to do? What, the job you got? It's like you can get another job. I mean, I'm not trying to tell everybody to go quit their jobs and try and just fuck off, but like, you got to
right,
realize what's good for you in life. You got to
yep,
realize like what you have and the time you have and how precious that is.
yep,
And you can spend your whole life being miserable, being happy. And what's going to make you happy? Do you want to go live your dreams? Do you want to see those things? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to live with FOMO the rest of your life? Like, what do you want to do?
yep,
And if you want to just go to work and come home and that's content to you, that's awesome. That's
yep,
great. But just make sure that that's what's awesome to you.
right,
Don't dishonor yourself and don't lack the things that nourish the soul, because that's what I think that's the most important thing. Like you said, if you're just a soul at the end of the day, I don't think any of us can disagree that we all kind of feel like we're just a soul doing what we're doing, right? And like it's just how we feel. So why would you ever want to neglect that? Like, you feel like, think of all the people that are empaths and like how much they go out of the way to make sure everybody else is happy and then just completely don't take care of themselves. And like then now how would you feel if you came at it from an outside perspective
oh,
and
he's
looked at
back, he's
yourself?
bashing me again.
No, I'm just as this truth though. It's like, and then you look, if you could look at it from your outside perspective, say you're in a etheric realm now and you're a different energetic source looking at you, and like think of how sad you'd be for yourself that you didn't take the time to be happy and live those things and take care of things. I think about myself with music a lot because I've been so caught up in music once it got successful that I don't play music hardly anymore.
Uh,
Doesn't that make sense? And that's just the way it goes. The business, the capitalism of it all, the drive, that grind, it sucks the life right out of it if you're not careful. But we got to take those times to honor ourselves. And if we
yes,
don't, we're gonna be freaking miserable. And you're
yep,
gonna get to the end and go, I had no fun. And it's just like, well, that wasn't the point, was it?
yep.
I mean, if there's, if we can have a conversation with God, do you think that you want to come in and say, "Oh man, that wasn't good enough. When it's like, well, look how I get you.
It was your choice. No, it was your choice. You chose to do that, right?
Well, it's like
Right?
you
This
just like,
is all a choice. This is my
that,
self-care.
and that's the whole point. That's what that's what, and you're not going to get any sympathy. I don't feel like at that point. You're just going to be like, well, why did you choose to do that? It's all for. I gave you free will so you could have that choice. So you could feel like you're the one that decided and have the things that you want. Otherwise, you're going to feel like a spoon fed, not appreciate it, right? So it's
Right.
and then people they make choices that they're miserable with their whole life, and then they wonder why they're miserable. And it's just like, well, maybe you should turn the TV off and like maybe put some fresh food in your body and like go get some fresh air for a minute. And, like see that there's a different reality here because a lot of these people just don't take the time to take some self care, real
Yeah.
self care,
Yeah.
not Botox. You know,
Right. Right.
like
Exactly.
and hey,
Exactly.
you never know. Like I know people that have had like their eyelids were actually like coming over their eyes, so
Yes.
they could see, and so then they had to
Yep.
get that
Yes.
done. And there you go. There's a form of self care medicine. Like that's great. Then they can see better, and it helps them out greatly. So it's like everything in its right
But that's
place.
done for a medical, that's it had to have a medical diagnosis, and that is a thing. And I've heard
Yeah,
of that where they have that
everything in its
surgery.
right place though. So there is a place for it, but
Yes.
it's not the free will of trying to destroy yourself. Basically, that's
It's,
not.
yeah, it's not the vanity side of it. That was actually something that was preventing them from seeing. I can't remember. I did know somebody who had that. You got a cat or a dog?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where, oh, my beast is snogged out on the floor.
Came in, yelled at me, he's leaving. That's how it goes. You know
Here,
how it goes.
come
Keep you
here.
on your toes.
Oh,
They teach you more than you'll ever understand if you can sit down, slow down long enough to realize that they're trying to train you. A lot
yeah.
of spiritual stuff that
That's
animals
why I
do for
have
us.
this.
Yeah, a lot of spiritual stuff that animals do and understand that we don't even have a clue about, and they hone it right in if they have to, and you don't even see it, but like it's there and it's heavy. They're
Yeah.
smart. They're a lot smarter
Yep.
than we give them credit for.
Yep. I know the cat was sitting on the cat tree, and I don't have cats. My son and his fiance live with us since May, I think, and the kitties were kind of a big shakeup in the house, but I bought him a cat tree, and he was sitting, I was doing something here, and I was looking up and it's like, well, what are you looking at? And he was watching me. I probably had like a snack or something, and I was just kind of watching him, and he started looking across the living room and up at the ceiling. He was looking at something, and it
Yep.
wasn't like it was a stagnant stare. He was like looking at something in a location. And
Oh yeah.
he's done that to me twice. And so I have a friend who's highly intuitive, and she'll probably watch this, and she'll agree that we talked. I said, "Can we check who was here tonight?" I mean, I know there are orbs, there are light things that kind of follow me a little bit, but I can't see them with the naked eye. I can only see them at night with a flash. And I'll see like the orbs and the lights and everything. But anyway, so I asked her, I said, who was here? And she said it was some of her guides and her team here to make sure that, just kind of checking on me. Maybe, I don't know. They were like just checking to make sure everything was okay. And I've heard discussions, not like audibly, but it's like you get those thoughts in your head.
That
Somebody was
tonight.
huh?
When was that?
Uh, this was this was maybe about, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
That wouldn't
Why?
surprise me. It doesn't. Well, either there's times when things come in more too. Yeah, obviously, there's times of the year I feel like that things are more present, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me. I mean, especially with how you are and what you're tapped into. I mean, like I'm sure I'm sure you run into it a lot. And then that's where again the animals just help us know that it's there. It's like something we wouldn't even you might see a speck or a spark or something somewhere in your vision or something. You know what I mean? That might trigger, but like the dog wasn't there. You might be too busy to even know it's there. So it's like helps you slow down and be like. But again, those things can be reassuring if you know they're actually on your side and not against you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, and I haven't had any of the sleep paralysis in years. And that's back when I was doing some not so good things like cocaine, and I was smoking pretty heavy and drinking heavily, and it was my husband at the time. So that was the only time I had had that happen to me twice, and I heard some pretty horrible things in the hallway. When I gave all of that up, all of that stuff stopped. When I stopped all the substances, yeah, so now it's like the complete opposite, but I do know you mentioned before about the geometry and I used to see that quite a bit. When I would close my eyes, I was getting a whole lot of geometric patterns beyond word moving. And sometimes I'll get like, almost like a morphing movie that's like telling a story, but it moves like super fast. So I just take it in. It's just like you just let it flow, and okay, something on a subconscious level is happening, and okay, we just go with it.
I found that the good ones though, like, and I say that loosely because like I found that the other ones weren't bad, but at the time it seemed like they were more sinister, or I mean, it just
Oh
seemed
no,
like
this was malevolent. This was a very malevolent, whatever it was in the hallway. And there's a
did it scare
difference
you enough to
between
make you want
being
to change?
scared. This was absolute freaking terror.
Right. No, I understand, but did it make you
Yeah.
scared enough to want to change?
Hmm?
Did it make you scared enough to want to change?
Not back then. Because
No
I didn't
kidding.
associate, it has to be an association between
Wow.
the
Yeah, the relevance.
substances. Right. There has to be some sort of a connection between the substances and that being. And there wasn't. There really wasn't. I mean, there's been some other little tiny weird things that have happened. I don't know if it was a cigar or not, but some people were trying to tell me that it was Starlink. It wasn't Starlink, because I could actually see, it doesn't come out in the little movie I have up on my YouTube channel. But it looked like it was more bulbous here and more bulbous here. It was almost like if you had like a big craft and there were like portholes on the side of it, but you could see an outline of something. And it was a craft. It was like, if you got there close enough, you got a telescope or something, you'd probably see somebody going, hey, if that's what it felt like. And it's like, what the heck? And I did get
Yeah.
some movie of it.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I've seen it a couple times, and I have seen Starlink, and it's
It's
you can
different.
say it's a little different. It is a little different, but I don't know if that was just another blast of them. I don't know. That was a weird one. That was definitely it. I don't know. At a certain point where you're just like, you know, if there was a few people here that knew about some crazy shit that was coming and they wanted to get off, they probably wouldn't tell you about it anyway. Like take aliens out of it. Maybe we're just leaving and we didn't make the, because like Simpsons, you know what I mean? We didn't make the cut. It's like the
Yeah.
rapture didn't happen the way you thought it was going to, and we're just kind of stuck here because we're just not in the know. You know, and
Hey,
that's
maybe it's the opposite.
right. Right.
Because I know that there are two people up in like the Montreal area, and they're catching a whole lot. It's kind of like what you described at the end of the road. And it's every night. And it's just like woo, 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 just fleets of these ships.
Whatever
I
they
want to know
are.
who's flying them. I want to
Yeah.
know who's in there.
I know I just got chills when you said that, but from what I've ever gathered and from every deep thing that I've ever gotten into, I've gotten into biological robots that perform a specific task. And you can take that for what it's worth. But
And the
when I
stripes in the sky, who's flying that? It's not always humans.
no, I don't think I mean whether we design them or some other species design them, it's probably a biological robot at this point. I mean,
They
look at
live among us.
no, I mean
Right?
we just been working on it. Like again, it could just like it's something that we could have like they've been working on this intensely so since like World War II. But like all this, all the genetics, all the things that they're showing us, and all these different robots and all the stuff they're coming out with, and the potential for be cyborg technology and all that. And we're living it now. People even with just sensors on their bodies that are hardwired in, pacemakers and all that as a form of it. It's a mild form of it. they're only showing us so much of it, and that I understand. I'm not saying this is a theory, like a conspiracy theory
Right.
style. It's like on for strictly like national security reasons, they can't tell everybody what they have, right? But like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't tell me that it's not existing, and so it's like if you got these crazy things out, like things flying in the sky that can't, there's no way humans could withstand it or whatever. Well, maybe they have a robot doing it. Maybe, or they, I understand there's a possibility to reverse gravity in their own different ways with the different mechanisms. And but like, it's probably more likely they just made a robot do it. It would simplify so much. Like, oh, there never was aliens, and we just actually designed these craft to try and do these things, and it was
It
just a
was a
bunch.
guy in a
Sorry,
rubber
guys.
mask, right?
Right,
It was the
right,
guy in the
right.
rubber.
It's just like, it, you just think of how dumbfounded we'd all be. It's like, yeah, it was all just a joke, and we were just trolling all of you the whole time. And it's just like it's really just us, and we were just messing around. How
Yeah.
dumb would everybody feel? But I mean, I think you and I have experienced enough in reality to understand there's probably not the case there, but it sure makes me wonder how interesting those because it's a possibility.
Yeah.
We don't know. We really don't know. You know what I mean? Like
No.
we don't know. Like people are saying, if the government's starting to admit about aliens and UFOs, then what are they really covering up? And then we can go on that forever. You know what I mean? We'll never know what they're really trying to tell us because it's national security. And again, I can't blame them for it. But I feel like a
I
lot
think
of
if, I think everybody and people who believe that they are awake, and I think people like you and I don't I think there's a quite a degree of not being awake with us as well. And I think if those who are really sound asleep would have two reactions, they're either not going to believe any of it and keep sleeping, or if they did wake up, they would probably lose their dookie. They wouldn't
yeah,
survive. They wouldn't survive it. It would be that bad for them.
no, and I gotta admit, I really had to kind of have it honed in over and over and over again to the point where I was awake and like, I mean, of all the things I've seen, I still didn't. I wouldn't say that I didn't believe, but what are you to believe? All you can do is not believe at that point because
Am
everything
I
you've been taught.
hallucinating again? Right?
What I mean, but no, but I don't. I never took LSD like that. I never, you know what I mean. Like when I was a young kid, like when I
Yeah,
experienced a lot of that's like I
yeah.
know I wasn't hallucinating unless somehow they were slipping some ergot through the freaking bread in the at the
What did
factory.
you
I
put
don't
in your Wheaties, Tom?
right. No, it just wasn't a thing. So, I mean, my whole thing, I mean, I've always been into cannabis and stuff like that, but I've known plenty of people with that, and it's not something that's going to make you wildly hallucinate or anything like that. And
No,
I,
not the real stuff. Not the real
no,
stuff.
I've been treating people for a long time. I mean, I got a kid that had, I think it was over 70 seizures a week, and now he has none. From a CBD tincture that I make. My friend that's been fighting for a long time. I mean, he was given 6 months to live in 2016,
Hmm.
and here he is, and he's still kicking. And it's like, and I understand the power of cannabis oil, and
Yeah.
I think that that's something that really needs to be put out there more and talked about because the one thing that's been really overlooked in this recreational movement is that caregivers always were the ones going out of their way to make mass amounts of cannabis oil handed away for free. And I know lots of people that have done it to thousands of people that needed it. And
Yep.
I know lots of them that did it for free. And if not, it was at minimal cost, if nothing, you know, and,
Hmm.
and so many people have had life changing, changes because of this. Like not, like, I mean, like completely reversals or don't have the seizures anymore. Or my one
Hmm.
buddy left older, I mean, he had MS and I mean, he was in really bad shape and he got on the oil and he takes 2 grams a day, which is literally a horse tranquilizer dose to most people. If you took 2,000 milligrams of Rick Simpson oil in a day,
Wow.
most people they'd barely be able to breathe, right? And that's what he has to
Right.
take. But he's again rocking out around the state and everything. And I mean, we're jamming out in the Capitol steps this fall,
Oh,
and that's the power. Like, it's not a joke, and it's a real thing, and it's a plant, and again, it's nature, and it's just us understanding nature, and it's something
yeah.
that's been suppressed from us greatly. And we could say it was the government, but and we can go back before that, and we could say it was the church, but it's ultimately our choices that turned ourselves away from these things. And it's
Yep.
just nature, and we know it can heal us. And all these things that we're discussing, no matter how far out, how outlandish, and all this, is actually nature. We just don't understand nature enough yet. Even if
Right.
it's like, say there are no ghosts or aliens, well, there's still something there. And I don't know what
Right.
that energy is. That's what I was saying. That's why I can't give it like the beginning of this interview. It's like I don't know what it is, but there's an energy out there that is prevalent beyond what we can understand in our
Mm-hmm.
our level of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nature. And ultimately
Yeah,
it is nature.
yeah, humanity is just curious enough to either want to try and dismiss it, or they're gonna just accept the fact that we're always gonna have that something else that they can learn that's more. And that, I think, is, if you can't know it all, that means I'm gonna have fun, because I absolutely love learning new things, doing new things. And
Yeah,
that's how you grow your brain. Go learn a
yeah,
foreign language, or go do something that you've not done before. Okay,
yeah,
so one of the things I'm going to probably try and do, and people call it the bucket list, right? Hey, let's go learn how to do throw mud, clay, do clay on a wheel, you know, do something like that. And I think that's why music was so good for me, and why I got bored after just, 2 years, 3 years, it was 4 years that I played and got quickly very, very good. That's why I had to pick up other instruments, because I got bored. I got really bored. Oh, my dad had his trombone. That was hilarious. I forgot about that. Yeah, I picked that up. Like, what the heck? Why not?
yep.
It's
When
just
did you do?
keep
Were
growing
you
your
much?
brain.
Were you much of an improv artist?
No.
See, and that's where if you'd have gotten into improv, you might have been able to retain that the creativity side. So because you always just it's something new then, right? It's just
Yep.
always something new, and then you're never getting stuck in that rut. And that's why I learned this some songs when I was younger, and I was like, this is cool, but like I just want to jam. I just want to make music as we go, and like
Hmm.
I just started doing that, and my friends would all come over, and we would all just keep doing that, and we would just make music up as we go, all the time, always. Everybody, I would make people do it, even if they thought they couldn't. I would put a bass in their hands and say, "Play this one note over and over again, and watch this." And then we'd have the drummer come in, and then I'd play guitar, and then whoever else, maybe keyboard or horns or whatever, and they would just all of a sudden light up like, "Oh my god, this sounds amazing!" It's like, just gotta do it. We just create, and I really think there's something about that, because so many people are so afraid, and like everybody can do it. I've taught so many people music. Everybody, when you show them something, they can do it once, and then all of a sudden they think about it, like, oh my god, I just did that. How did I do that? And as soon as they think, how did I do that? They're done. And you know how music is. If you're thinking about the notes you're gonna play before you play them, you're never gonna hit it, because
Yep.
your brain can't process it fast enough. So there's like
Right.
this flow that you get in, and it literally just comes out of you like water. And it's
Yep.
like you have to learn, you have to just go for it until you can do that. And I think that that's where like the self-doubt that for most people stops them, and people like maybe you and me were just like, I don't have any doubt that I can do this, it's just whether I want to do it or not.
Right.
So we were just going to go out. There was nothing that was going to stop us from learning it. We didn't put a restriction on ourselves, we just went for it. And when I show people that they can do that in the improv fashions, it blows their mind. And then some people, they keep on doing it, and they'll keep on playing music. And I've watched people now now they're actually getting good and can really jam. And it's like, it's really cool to see that. And it just takes that getting out, like you were just saying, you got just don't quit doing the same thing over and over and over again. Because that's what's going to wear you out. Your brain isn't going to
Hmm.
expand when you're doing that. Absolutely not. But
Yep.
through my ability to improv, that's the reason I've been able to excel with the plant music, because it's all improv. The plant's never going to play the same thing twice, almost ever, right? So you have to be able to come at it in an improv fashion, and life is just like that too. When you're always throwing all these things, improv will help you understand how to handle life as it comes at you, because no matter how well your plans are, they're not going to go that way.
Yeah.
And so improv helps us learn those things and not get stuck in that humdrum of, oh, why is this not going the same way when it really shouldn't have anyway. And by doing all these things, I've been taught about it like universities and stuff for just improv, which is kind of funny. But it's like that's another one of those things in nature where it's like nature improvs.
Yep.
The mycelium network finds its way around the objects. The trees grow towards the sunlight. Like if there's shade, it'll try and grow around it. Like
Right.
it's just the way it goes. It's
Yep.
improv, and it's all part of nature. But that's why I ask, because I found um, most classical players always play the music, but they don't know how to actually do improv much. And I've ran into them. I mean,
Nope.
I remember
Well,
one
it's
time I
very,
was
if you look at that music, it's very structured. It's very, it's
beautiful.
almost, it's like a predictable mathematical
Yep,
equation.
yep. And if you're used
And
to
there's
reading some
that
of the people,
phrase, and here's this phrase, and here's what comes next. And you can
yep,
almost anticipate what's gonna come next.
yep, yep, yeah. But and it works the same way with improv. Once you kind of get to know it, music's music, so you kind of have an idea where it can always go. So even if you don't quite catch it when they do it, within a nanosecond, your brain knows where it's going, so you just go there, you know. And it's like I've ran into that multiple times, but one really noticeable time I was on Mackinac Island, and I'm out there playing, just we're making up songs stuff and singing some tunes of busk, and we're walking past this woman with a violin, and I said, "Hey, you want to jam?" And she's like, "Oh no, I don't jam. I don't know how to jam." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know how to jam?" She's like, I don't jam. I'm classical. I'm read only." I'm like, "Okay, why can't you jam?" She's like, "Well, I never done that. I don't know how." I'm like, "You know how to play the scale of A minor?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how about I just start playing something in A minor, and you play any of the notes in A minor, and see which ones you like, and we'll just make it up and play it." And we started doing it. She started jamming, and it was great. She couldn't believe it. And that's all it takes. It's just like, you know all the scales, you know where it all
Yep,
fits. Why don't you just try and do something yourself? And
yeah,
it's amazing to watch the transformation over somebody when they realize, like, it's just that easy. You just got to do it. It's just it's like a light. It's like a computer. It's like on and off. You know what I mean?
yep,
It's all life is those choices. You want to turn it on, or you want to keep it off. It's like, do you
right,
want to learn to
right.
do it yourself, or do you want to just do what everybody else has been doing their whole lives?
Yeah, it's a daily reset button for most people, right?
Mhm. Well,
It's like, re
honestly, it's an instant reset every single moment, because I could choose to hang up the phone right now and go to bed if I wanted to, right now, this instant. You know what I mean? We could,
Mm.
yeah, right. Or we could continue the conversation and enjoy the fact that, and the back to gratitude thing of just like what we can gain out of this, and having fun in life,
Having
right?
fun, absolutely. Yep, and that's a big part of the enjoyment. I mean, some people would say fun, but even just an enjoyment factor of doing what you enjoy, doing what you love, and following that passion, feeding the passion. And it doesn't have to be all consuming. Passion doesn't mean you neglect other aspects of yourself or your family or anything else. So as I say, I have a very stressful day job, Monday through Friday, and I love working with people. I love helping people, and as much as I would like to be able to retire from that and do something like this, because really this is a freaking blast to do this. Because I can be myself, I can say what I want. And a lady by the name of Constance Briggs, she wrote a book, she wrote a bucket load of books about the moon and the galactic history of the moon and the earth and everything else. So I met her through someone else, and so she had seen me on Facebook, so she asked to be my friend. I bought one of her books and I said, "Hey, would you be able to talk?" So now I'm going to be interviewing her next month.
Nice.
Next month. So, all that takes is that one little thing. And I don't have to post every day. You say, "Oh, you got to post every day. Oh, you got to do this." It's like, I think there are certain formulas that can get you down the road to that, if you want to call it success, but that's not what I want to do. I like to do what like we're doing today. Everybody asks, "Well, how long? How long? Is it an hour?" I said, "It's however long you want it to be." "Well, what
Did
do
you
you want to
notice
talk
I
about?"
didn't ask that question? I don't believe I asked that question, did I?
Yeah, you did. I think you did, but not a lot. I don't know. You may have, I don't know. I'd have to look back at the emails, but
No,
everybody
I
has
don't.
asked, "How long is your show?" And it's like, that's kind of funny. I have a show. And it's like, no, I like organic conversations. I like to see what comes up and comes out and just go with it. And that's fun, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I'm all about that. I don't like I can't I've never been able to put a time limit on myself, because every time, and I know it frustrates my girlfriend to no end, but like, I don't care where we go or what we do. It's just like
It's
there's
like,
always something, man.
damn it,
There's
he's 2 minutes late.
No, not 2 minutes. No. It's like you just never know. It could be. I mean, like we'll have set plans, and the next thing you know, you get a phone call, and you got to divert the entire day to something else. Like maybe somebody needs something, or
Mm-hmm.
is hurt, or just whatever. Just like there's something else that it takes precedence, and you have to go with it. But that's the path you take. You got to
It's the
take.
path. Holding on to things loosely, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Letting
Well,
go of
just
those
not having expectations
expectations.
as much as
Expect.
possible. Every time I have expectations, I just let myself down. So if I don't have expectations, I can't ever let myself down, right? Never be
Yep.
disappointed if you don't have expectations. Be
Yep.
grateful.
Absolutely. Um. So yeah, I'll have to put the little thingy again, about I'll do the link tree and they can
Yeah.
catch up with where you're at. So what would you like to tell everybody before we split? What do you want? What do you want to close it out with? What's on your heart and
What I
mind?
have in my mind right now is just be grateful because life is better than most people realize.
Create your own
Truly.
reality.
It's all a dream. It's literally all a dream. Everything that we're experiencing, again, we can't experience it without ourselves. So whatever you dream up, you can create and do whatever you want if you believe in yourself enough and do it. And I'm telling you, I never would have thought my work was going to get discussed like it has around the world. I didn't think I'd be here talking with you about this stuff. Man, when I was going through it when I was younger, I thought I was pretty crazy, to be honest with you. I really was worried about it because people make a lot of fun of people that go through some of the stuff that I've been through. But I haven't ran into that because I'm not coming at it from the stance of like, this is this. It's the fact that I can't understand even fully what I went through, but it does exist. I just don't know what exactly it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I try and find the scientific, or at least that's why I said the correct version enough where people can swallow it. I've been finding a lot of more traction than I would have expected. So
Yeah.
it's good. It's good to see. Just
It's
don't
almost like a
embrace
form
it.
of divination that you have.
Oh, what do you? I mean, I do you do dowsing?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna leave that for a whole other episode, but yeah, you gotta know your blessings and what's coming to you, and
So,
realize that it's all what you make of it.
it is. And trying to figure things out and not placing labels on things as best as you can, only to kind of make it relevant to where you're at. I don't know where I was going with that one, but I think that there is so much stigma around so many things that people just need to take a deep breath and understand that we're all a gift to each other, right? And we all have
Yeah,
something to offer one to another.
yep.
So,
Even if you
uh,
don't like somebody, they're still teaching you how not to be.
correct. Yep,
Seems
that's
weird.
huh?
Seems weird, but that's the truth. It's like, okay, you don't
Oh,
like somebody,
embrace
great.
the weirdness.
Don't be like that. You just learned something.
Yeah.
Good. Now we can move on.
How not
Instead
to
of
be an
being
ass. Hey. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think I'm going to stop recording now. And I hope everybody enjoyed the chat and check out
thanks
just this little
everybody.
chat. Tom, check out Tom's little. I'm going to do the link tree thing, like I said before, and check in often to see what he's going to be up to, because I think it's going to be some fun and good stuff and life enriching.
Yep, some more. I know I'm kind of getting geared up towards a documentary for this flora organoleptic music thing. That's what we call the tree and plant music. It's flora and organoleptic combined into flora organoleptic. So flora, plants and trees, organoleptic, evaluating with your senses. Combine the word together as plants and trees, evaluating with your senses to create music. So flora organoleptic music. So gonna be a lot coming out with that. I mean, our idea is to take some of that energy and try and map data to it and hopefully maybe start to get some words to come out of it. I know that we can get simple ones like I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and go from there. And
Yep.
hopefully it'll be like the Rosetta Stone in the plant world. But yeah, there's a lot that's going to be coming up. It's just a matter of, and new music. If you guys are normal people and just like music, We got plenty of that too. But I also have like plant music on our band camp, which is on the link tree. There is one of our songs. I only have one release that has got Norfolk Island pine and aloe plant playing
Oh,
with the band, and it's a beautiful jam. It's very, I mean, I don't know if you listen to that or not, but it's kind of almost like it's just very piano-y and almost classic-y, and it's the classical in its own way. But like I, yeah, but there's lots coming, so I appreciate it. I appreciate this.
no,
A lot of
no,
times,
no.
spreading the word, like this website or whatever. By the time we get done with the conversation and it gets this profound, it just gets washed under the cracks and we just forget, and that's the end of it. So it's kind of nice to be like, oh yeah, go back. But yeah,
Yeah. No, it's all good, and we'll be for sure spreading the word about
cool,
Tom's Good Sounds
cool.
432. Yeah.
Yep. Well,
All right.
appreciate it.
Cheers.